Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Good morning here from still foggy California, but nonetheless, we're super excited to kick off this third webinar in our series of three to prepare everybody for everything that's happening in LA, leading up to LA 28, the Olympics, obviously. My name is Jorrit de Vries, and I lead the Netherlands Business Support Office, the Dutch trade office here in LA. And we have Krista Treide today, which is a very exciting panel that we did in one of our trade missions, the sports mission last year. And by popular demand, we decided that we needed to turn this into a masterclass. So today you are in luck because this is a phenomenal topic of somebody who has been active in the sports industry for over 20 years. It's a brand building OG. Krista has worked for brands like Nike, UGG, Speedo, and Reebok. She's currently the GM of a natively Dutch company operating in the US called No Watch. A very exciting business as well. And today we're going to make sure that when you leave this call and you have all your questions prepared at the end of this call, as a really well prepared business owner to come into the US and present your brand in a way that will resonate in any US room. So Krista, super happy you're here. Let's hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jorrit. Good evening, everybody. I'm thrilled to be here again. I've just returned from almost 10 days in Amsterdam, 10 very warm days as it was. And really thrilled to re-engage with everyone. My background obviously started in sport, but over the years has become very industry agnostic. And the work that I do is in building brands from a foundational perspective, having worked both from the US building brands internationally and then in reverse, building brands from international markets back into the US. And so the process that I'll take you through today is not sport specific. This is something that I've used, tested, proof tested for years, that I've worked with companies in the nonprofit sector, in the big brand sector, in the startup area as well. And really this is full circle for me, having worked for Nike for many years. Our European headquarters was in Hilversum. And so I had a lot of early introductions into the Dutch culture. And then being introduced to the NBSO a handful of years ago was able to really re-engage. So I'm thrilled to be here. Orange happens to be my favorite color, so this is a natural fit. We will take questions at the end. And so if you can kind of keep those handy, we'll at the very close of the presentation have a slide that will indicate questions, and then you can put those right in the chat. We have a team of people behind the scenes that will be able to share those questions, and we'll share those with everybody here. And we'll try to answer those in a pretty quick manner. So with no further ado, let's really kick off and jump into this exercise today. I think you'll find it very rewarding. It's quite cathartic. It really helps you become very honest with your business and I think get back to basics in a way as well. So I love the whole concept around wear your colors. This is really very much about branding, positioning, and the art of storytelling. I want to start with something that really takes us back a little bit. And so in the late 1800s, there was a gentleman who ran the patent office in the US named Charles Dwell. And he made a statement, and with all due respect, is probably regretting it a little bit now. But he made a statement that was, everything that can be invented has been. And, a few years later, there was this gentleman wearing this TV glass. But as the lead of the patent office, if he were able to see what's happened in the years to follow, I think he'd be quite proud. And what I think is also really interesting is every year this exercise around the most valuable global brands comes out. And for me, it's like a kid in a candy store. And so I pulled the most recent, and there probably won't be a lot of surprises here, but the 50 most valuable global brands as of the close of last year, exist on the screen here, and you'll be getting a copy of this, so don't feel like you have to frenetically screenshot. And what this does a really nice job of is it captures businesses from different parts of the world. So Japanese businesses, Chinese businesses down in the bottom right. And also, how is this brand value determined? So this really takes revenues, brand strength, and fuses those together with different metrics such as familiarity, price, demand impact, and also loyalties from consumers. And so it's a really interesting exercise. I think if we talk about having potentially closed the patent office years ago, as one example, these arrows represent the brands that are still around today that were actually physically functioning in that same period in the late 1900s. And so 1800s, excuse me. So, I think keeping our eye on this leads very nicely into the exercise today, because if you develop a brand platform that says what you do, that extends value to consumers and really helps them understand that you're solving problems and giving them things that make their life easier, you'll have extraordinarily staying power for your company. So when we're talking about taking Dutch brands and bringing them into the US market. I mean, obviously, this is a complex piece of land that we live on here in the US. By latest averages, as of this morning, we're at about 347 million people, and we're not one market. So this isn't really an easy exercise as to saying, let's go to the US, let's build this business, let's take what we've done in our culture and really click and drag it into a new entity. There are different rules here, different cost structures, and certainly different expectations. And as you can see from this heat map, consumers are very different as they sit in different quadrants of the US. And so we have 50 states, each have individual tax codes, licensing, consumer law. If you use if you're a consumer-facing brand that's selling products and you use a platform such as Shopify, it solves a lot of these problems for you. If you are a service-based business or more of a B2B business, it's still really important to look at these nuances to help you really focus on how to best intersect with this culture. We are very locally driven. So what happens in New York doesn't actually always permeate Los Angeles or Seattle or Atlanta. Consumers are very different in these markets, but they're also very sizable markets. So when you look at your brand and how it really connects with consumers and doing some of your consumer insight work, it will help you really land on areas that make sense for your brand, your business, your company. There's quite costly to test many markets at once. And there's no single gatekeeper to our market. So there's nobody that says, great, this is a wonderful business. Why don't you bring this into the US? We think it will be a tremendous success. That pays huge dividends to really look at how to tier the market here and focus on individual markets to really penetrate. And then the other piece is that we kind of break down the US into 20-ish major metro areas that are not evenly spread, as you see here. So I'm sure you're looking at this slide and going, wow, okay, maybe now I'm even more confused about how to really penetrate this market. But what we want to be able to extend today, and I think this is the wonderful nature of the NBSO LA, is that if you think of, but first, California, on any given day, we're sort of tied with Japan as the fourth largest GDP globally as a state in our country. And we represent about 40 million people, give or take. This is one of the most sports dense regions. It is an ecosystem of health and wellness, culture creators with Hollywood right in our heart, sport at the professional, collegiate, high school, and even club level, and innovation. And I'll tell you, as you've probably seen, we show up for massive events. And I think quite proudly, we've been really nice hosts for this World Cup in particular. If you break down this market into a few areas that really solidify why this is a good place to start for most B2B consumer insight, consumer facing, consumer product good, and service based companies is that VC checks really land here first. There's a lot of capital to be had. We have a lot of talent at a young level, a lot of innovation. We have some of the most respected universities in the country, and if even much of the world, when you look at Stanford, Berkeley, UCLA, USC. These are talented, young, hungry, very impressive and educated workforce that you can actually pull from. Culture here, whether it's LA and San Francisco, we're exporting that on a daily basis. We are a great test bed. So if you look at buyers who are validating products, services, relationships, this is a really wonderful place to do that. We have all the infrastructure set up. So I'm sure through this exercise with the NBSO, you've had conversations around setting up a legal entity and logistics and the ecosystem. We have a lot of these things in place where you can plug and play with existing organizations. And the NBSO is a wonderful opportunity to be able to make those connections to accelerate your entry into this market. And then network. We have people who have tried and become very successful. We have people that have tried and failed, but then tried again and become very successful. And so there are a lot of people to lean on here. There's a tremendous network that really can connect with the type of business, service, or relationship that you're looking to build in this market. And something that's, I think, come up a lot recently is that Americans really love to help, and we love a great idea like most. We also feel that particularly the Dutch culture is incredibly creative, innovative, green friendly. And so I think you can lean into that as well. There's a lot of sexiness around the Dutch culture. So one thing before we get into the work itself, I am a huge believer. I heard this from Phil Knight during my time at Nike. Steve Jobs also really was a big proponent around giving consumers things they don't need, they know, that they don't think they need or they don't know about, but once they have, they can't live without. And if you really think about solving problems, cutting time away from our busy sort of culture and lives, you're looking to solve problems and give people things that they really don't know that they need. And we can all think of these types of products and services, but once we have, we just can't live without. And I think, exemplified by this image, an iPhone has been one of the most pinnacle products that none of us knew we needed. And now from every aspect of our lives, we really would be hard to live without. So let's jump into the work. And many of you are down the path already of building your brand and building your company. And others might be in an earlier position. And being able to go through this work on your own terms with a little bit of time dedicated, this will really get you to a place where when you're in a pitch with an organization, you're not only confident about what you're delivering, but you also have a very succinct way of presenting this to individuals. And doing this work properly informs everything that you do, all of your external touch points. And that means your website, your pitch decks, your conversations over the phone, that 5 seconds of nexus opportunity that you may have in an elevator next to somebody who could be an absolute game changer for a world shot opportunity to build your business in a new environment with a new market, with new audiences. And I like to put this into a few different areas, and we'll go through this work together a bit today. So the first thing is purpose. Why do you exist? What is the reason that you've created your brand or your company? And audiences love to know this backstory. Have you solved your own problem? Is there an opportunity in the market? this is beyond just making money. It is getting to an emotional connection with your audiences to really further connect your brand and your purpose. This becomes a very much a laddering up of each of these layers of the work that we'll do. The second is promise. So how do you fulfill your purpose? This is the commitment your communities count on. And this is really important that, if you've heard the term, you're sort of walking the talk. This becomes very critical to what you do. And one of the things that I talk about a lot is having all pistons firing. So making sure that every touch point you have with consumers, as I mentioned before, it doesn't just stop with a website, your social media strategy, how you engage in LinkedIn, but it's how you act every day and what that commitment is, down to brand partnerships and how you would want somebody to represent you if you weren't in the room. The next area is around personality. So how do you behave? And this becomes really emotive. It's the emotional tone behind every interaction. So as a brand, you should have a tone of voice. You should have language around who you are and who you aren't. And oftentimes it helps to look at your very close linked competitive pool and to really ensure that you're differentiating yourself from the other brands that are competing for your audiences. The next area, and this is really the heartbeat of this work, is around principles. So these are your values, and they're actionable. They're not aspirational. They're aspirational. They're things that you can achieve, that are realistic, that are opportunistic. I'm a big fan of moonshots and having big audacious goals, and being realistic with those, with actionable principles and values, is very important. The next very obvious area are people. So the whole concept of build it and they will come is a little bit of a farce. Having an audience that truly is inspired and aspires to what you're offering is absolutely critical. And it's very important that you identify that audience in advance, know who you're serving, and really tier them from sort of top of the tier down, so that when you're looking at investing money against these audiences with advertising, with partnerships, that you're really laddering this up to an ROI. If the audience doesn't exist, it's probably a good time to go back to the offering that you have and the brand that you've created to make sure that you're really connecting a solid line back to that. And of course, the product. I love to share the whole concept of the world does not need another mousetrap, but we'll all take a better one. And so products in this day and age should change people's lives. And that doesn't mean dramatically. It really means that you're helping save time, or save money, or save stress, or help people live easier in a much more productive way. And again, I come back to that comment of, can you give people something that they didn't know that they needed? And once they have, they just can't live without. At the end of all of this work, hopefully you all have a strategic plan in place. And this really ladders up to how you will change the world. And it then entails your go-to-market guide with all the pistons firing. Doing this work will absolutely populate your strategic plan and keep you honest. And in most cases, with the companies that I work with, you have the answers. You know the storyline. You really understand the value proposition that you extend to consumers. It's often the tip of your nose. But what's really important is to have this in a strategic plan so that it's shared with not only your company, but every employee who's helping you get to this place where you will change the world. You can make a difference. And as a result, this will then better and more clearly inform all of your audiences, no matter who they are, from a B2B, a direct-to-consumer, a brand partnership perspective, a service opportunity. Very, very important piece of this entire exercise. And so I know you're asking, okay, I get all of this conceptually. Maybe I've done some of this work. Maybe I haven't. If you've kicked the can, so to speak, of this work down the road and really started the company and are running a bit with intuition, a little bit of luck, and maybe a lot of energy, it's really an important thing to stop and pause and do this work, because it's absolutely critical, so that when we look back to some of those brands who have been around since the late 1800s, who are still surviving today and making big impacts in the world, that you're setting your brand and your company up for long-term sustainable opportunity and staying power. And so in order to bring this to life a little bit, I'm going to share some brands that I believe we'll all be very familiar with. And in a very quick manner, I'll fly over a bit of their perceived strategy around all of the things that I've just shared. So this first company, and this I'm starting with really now their touch point with consumers, is a company that I believe everybody would hit the yes button. I know this company well. They're very provocative in what they do, but they're also just one of the biggest stewards for us as a long-term, sustainable, eco-friendly company. And before I kind of share a little bit of that information, I'm going to ladder this up in a way that puts all of this together so that you can start to build this out as well. So this company is Patagonia, and I'll go through this again because you'll get these slides at the end a little bit quickly. I'll spend a little bit more time on this first one and then share a handful of others. But Patagonia from day one has been about environmentally conscious efforts. And that's not only in walking the talk, it's in products, it's in their position in the geopolitical marketplace. It is about fashioning products to support not only an active outdoor lifestyle, but it is about minimalizing just the footprint on this planet and making sure that they show up in very divisive ways to not allow any of us to forget our role here as a partner of Mother Nature. And as we're all sitting and sweltering in this crazy heat, continuing to try to make a difference. And so when they look at people and who their consumers are, obviously these are eco-friendly, eco-conscious, adventure-driven consumers. And you might think that these are very opposing sort of value propositions, but quite frankly, these come together in a nexus in a beautiful way. Consumers are very interested in using their dollars to vote for brands by buying their products that make a difference. And Patagonia is really, I think, probably the golden goose and the perfect poster child for this. When we look at building this into principles and the actionable items of what they believe in, it's really clear. It's about sustainability, activism, great quality. You know, when you buy one of their products, that it will last and it will perform. It is about taking a position of being a steward of the environment and kind of a responsibility to buy products that do just that. And so we know that this consumer exists across the globe. Their personality, as you saw from that first slide, is very adventurous. They take themselves seriously, but every once in a while, they take themselves a little bit to heart too. They're brave in what they do. They're taking stances against governments. They're doing things that are provocative. And it's always from a single place of being globally minded. They've created trust and built trust with not only their partners in their wholesale model, in their production avenues, as consumers, even with the government as well in many cases. They continue to be rebellious because they've earned this permission to take this role. They're the tip of the spear when you think of products and environment coming together in one place. And you know that every time you buy a Patagonia jacket, that it will be ethically made. What I love about Patagonia is that they will tell you where they're still learning. it's almost a practice. If they have a product that's 90% where they feel they've set a standard for an eco-conscious product, they'll share with you the other 10% and the efforts that they have to try to get to that 100% environmentally friendly product. They're empowering consumers to take action for the betterment of the planet by buying their products, but also wearing that Patagonia badge. You're sharing that, hey, I back this and I'm all for this. And one of the most amazing things that I think Patagonia has done over the years, and it's hard to find just one, is that a handful of Christmases ago, they made a statement during the Black Friday, Cyber Monday period, which is a big frenzy in at least the US market, where companies tie up consumer dollars early on for holiday gift giving. And Patagonia came forward and they ran a campaign that said, don't buy our products. We would rather you fix the products that you've purchased from us if there's a little hole or you've gotten a snag or something just doesn't feel good. And they launched a campaign to fix your products, and they traveled around the country, or you can ship these in. Patagonia will fix them and they will then send them back to you so that they're really becoming, again, much more of a sustainable company. And their sales actually went up. And so I don't think that was their end goal. They really, truly wanted people to think about, at that moment in time, being much more of a steward to the environment as they're contemplating sort of this frenetic purchasing period of buying gifting. So their purpose, and as you really start to look at this work, and I want to encourage you to do this, the things that we pull together as we're doing our brand work around principles, personality, and promise all factor into your purpose. Why do you exist? So this is intentional. And while we don't have time to go through a strategic plan, I guarantee you that Patagonia has a very solid, long-term, 3 to probably 10-year plan that is ideating on how they continue to make a difference and change the world. So their purpose is this: Patagonia changes the world by advocating for environmental protection, waste reduction, and the promotion of sustainable, high-quality practices demonstrated by best-in-class outdoor performance products. And so here's really their plan. And then what you'll start to see is that many of the things in their foundational building blocks of building out their brand strategy are red threads, or in this case, orange, leading up to their purpose and their promise. And every person in the company knows their marching orders. They understand what their role is, the expectation, their personality, and externally, as consumers or brand partners or service partners to Patagonia, we know that the expectations of them are quite grand, but we also trust that they will achieve those and continue to push boundaries. So this is our example number 1. Example number 2 is a lifestyle image, which may be a little bit harder to pull the exact company from. This could be a surfboard company. This could be a fun sort of Swedish furniture business. This could be an apparel company, but it's actually Apple. And so this is one that when you think of how they create lifestyle imagery around their brand and company, it becomes, I think, fun, and it integrates what they do and the problems that they solve and the products that we now know we must have and we can't live without, interact with people across all different demographics, psychographics, and ethnographies. And so I've done all of this work here so we can go through this a little bit more fluidly, but we know the product that Apple creates is life-changing. It's always innovative. Every time a new iPhone release comes out, we know that they're really pushing the envelope. And if you're using iPhone 15 or 16 at this point, you know that Apple is working on iPhone 22 behind the scenes. They are relentless with the opportunity to deliver innovative, technologically advanced products that will continue to change the world. They serve, from a people perspective, not only really tech savvy individuals and design conscious people, but they also really help people of all walks of life. And so their simplicity of use alongside this premium experience, which is something that is very hard to deliver on, will allow my grandmother to be able to use an iPhone or an iPad to FaceTime my 14-year-old. And we all come together as one consumer group. And it is unique and beautiful and powerful that Apple is able to really do that. And the reason that they can, and when they think of their consumers, they think of really 5 or younger to 105. And they rely on their principles and their promise around what they deliver to be able to attract that audience. So innovation, value, principles around minimalism, around an attempt to be pretty environmentally friendly with how they create products. Empowering the users is such a great principle. The lack of reliance that we need to have on an Apple support team is pretty incredible. Privacy is something I know they work very hard on as well, and I appreciate that. There are a lot more opportunities for us as consumers to find an easy way to opt out of the things that we don't want to have chasing us. And for that, they're building more trust in a time where everyone is starting to really be, I think, a lot more interested in their data sovereignty in particular. Personality, very emotive here, but we know Apple is always sleek and creative. It's provocative. The products are luxurious. The unboxing of the products is always so incredible, and they're very progressive. Their promise is this relentless pursuit of perfection and innovation around everything that they do and everything that they offer. And their purpose, why do they exist? Well, they're always challenging the status quo. They deliver consistent innovation. They are generally always first to market with most every major material innovation around consumer tech. And they enrich our lives and blend this ability to deliver innovation, more privacy now, and simplicity at all costs. And I think nobody probably does it better across such a wide consumer base than Apple. The next example here is a bit of a myriad of approaches. And when you look at outward-facing lifestyle imagery that they create, it started with a company that existed on slide number 3, which was companies that have been around since the late 1800s. And this is Coca-Cola. And over the years, they've ensured that they continue to build trust beyond just one sugary drink that becomes their sort of centrifuge, to be able to branch out into health and wellness, into products like sport-related drinks or protein-related drinks or milk. And so Coca-Cola offers refreshing beverages. They stay very true to their North Star, and they bring joy and comfort, and they're a cultural and global icon. And so if you see sort of around World Cup right now, Coca-Cola is everywhere. They're on every cup, they're every product. They own World Cup right now. And there is a level of trust and a bit of joy that I think they associate themselves with their very thoughtful partnerships. When you look at people, this is another company that's done a phenomenal job of being able to canvas age groups and also demographics. So they serve a very large global audience, as we know. They appeal to young individuals and families, and those who really are looking for, as you see from much of their advertising, happiness and joy. There's always a big smile on the face. There's always some connection with, I think, socialization when you look at what Coca-Cola presents to us outward facing. Their values that they believe in are also very actionable. They're very innovative, whether it's in acquisitions to branch into new markets, innovation around products, and looking at health advocacy and some of the ingredient panels that they're looking to improve upon. They're very sustainable in their approach in most cases, looking to become more of that. And I think also very honest with their shortcomings. They're very adept, again, based on their merger and acquisition schedule over many years, knowing that one product can't solve all the opportunities for consumer group that is so broad. And I think that's, been a very good staying power piece to them as well. When you buy a Coca-Cola in Mexico or Amsterdam or Atlanta, Georgia in the US, it will always taste very similar. So that's that trust and that expectation and consistency. Their personality, as we've kind of seen a bit, is very optimistic. It's happy, it's friendly, it's community focused. It's very inclusive from the products that they extend to the marketplace and the consumers that they're connecting with. And they always try to have fun. They're a drink. It's a beverage. It's hydration. And keeping an element of frivolousness to that, I think, has been very powerful for them. Their promise is to refresh the world and inspire moments of happiness through every sip. So you can see, as we move from product to people, to principles, to personality, and now we're laddering up to the promise, which will help us understand how to fulfill that purpose, which is why Coca-Cola exists. They feel that they exist to refresh the world, to bring people together through shared moments of positivity and happiness while fostering a more sustainable and unified global community. So here they show up as a beverage company at an event where, for the most part, everybody's really happy, and sport brings everyone together in this situation around World Cup. And they're fostering sort of everybody as a global community for moments of time. The next brand that I want to spend just a couple minutes on, which I think will be interesting for those of you who are looking to bring an Amsterdam and Netherlands-based company into the US, is NowWatch. So this is a company that has been in development for 4.5 years. It is a health tracking company that is really the third generation of health tracking. Health tracking really started with understanding your steps with Fitbit. So we probably, many of us had a product at a specific point of time, and we were comparing how many steps we had taken for the day, and that became this threshold and milestone for all of us in our communication. And then the market grew, and there were companies that then said, listen, we understand steps are important, but sleep is also important because you need to recover from all of those steps. So companies like Oura Ring launched, and then a company named Whoop came after that, and they really focused on athletes. And all of those companies educated the market in a very powerful way amongst not only activity and sleep, but also that you can now have access to your health data at any given moment of time and better understand your health so that you can trust yourself a bit, so that you can be better informed when you're with your physio. And we're really now in this third generation of health tracking, which is where NowWatch really fits in that NowWatch covers all of the body metrics, so steps and sleep, but also takes it to the next level through a reactivity monitor that gauges your daily load. So this is, in many cases, stress. We have great stress. You're out on a run, that stresses your body. You're getting ready for a big presentation. That obviously stresses your body. Our product helps you not only gauge activity and sleep, but also how to stay in this element of homeostasis. So how quickly you're recovering to stress, which is something that you can actively do when you have access to your health. And as any Dutch company would do, NowWatch has really pushed the status quo in an aggressive way. So they've also said, in addition to this extension of information to you, we also sit under the GDPR, and we are 100% opt-in versus trying to figure out in the small print how to opt out. And for those of you living in Europe, I know that GDPR sounds like an expectation, but in the USA, the whole concept around data privacy and also data sovereignty and how you're controlling where your data is and who sees it is becoming very new and very important, because we don't have that GDPR protection here. NowWatch also wants you to take really a passive approach to your health, where other products are giving you scores and they're constantly distracting you. And NowWatch is about compassionate tech. So there are little haptics that you feel within the product when maybe you're getting to a place of stress that allow you to understand how to really combat that. And so I thought it was really an important moment to be able to also share, as a peer company for all of you, how they've really taken an approach to exactly this exercise. And where this has helped the brand is to best understand where the market is today, paying a lot of tribute to the big brothers and sisters of the other health trackers that came into the market before us that educated consumers, and now how to really take the baton to push into this next generation. NowWatch also doesn't charge any subscription fee, which is a complete differentiator. So I'm sharing these with you intentionally because they become such differentiators from other brands and products that they become more, it becomes easier for us to share this with consumer audiences, with brand partners, because now we're positioning ourselves as a brand and a product that people don't know exists and now they want. And so we're in this magical phase of earning trust with consumers. And so quickly, I'll kind of go through this, but we serve a health conscious individual in people, busy professionals, athletes. The company has signed an agreement with Como FC to be able to put the product on athletes, which is exciting to a football club, because when athletes are on the field of play, the physios can understand how fast they're running, how far they're running, the stress their body's under. But the minute they shower and they leave the field and the facility, the organization can't really control how they live their life. And to best fine tune an athlete, they're thrilled that they now have access to all of those things off the field of play. And so this is an exciting partnership, but having this work done ahead of time allowed us to go and have a very intellectual, professional conversation around how we're different, how we can help solve problems for this organization. And every athlete is a human, and what will result from these testing and this work together also is a perfect trickle down into building more consumer trust with this company. Principles which I've started to share. This is a non-addictive product because there are no addictive loops. There's no scoring. You're not trying to meet your steps every day. This is research-backed, subscription-free. Privacy is an absolute ethos and belief of the company, and data sovereignty as well. And the products are personalized. So it's only taking your data and giving that data back to you without asking you to pay for it. And eventually you'll be able to share that data in a dashboard with your doctor, so that at least in the US, when you go to your doctor, you may get 15 minutes once a year to have a health check. And this doctor can then look at history over however long period of time you wish to share, so they can look at long-term trends and have way more information on you as a patient coming in to make longer-term health guidance and approach. Personality, very trusted. The product is and the company are very calm. We are science-backed. We are a female-led chief science officer who has her master's in health tracking and has a team of data scientists that are supporting her in building this for the company. The passion really is this belief that health tracking shouldn't fuel tech addiction. We really help people connect with their body and mind. And so the industry has really been around body, and now it's around body and mind integrated. The promise is helping people take control of their health with a screen-free product that allows you to understand really how to get into a place of understanding your health, homeostasis. And we know that 8 out of 10 diseases are actually caused by having a longer term approach to stress and stress resilience. So if you can better understand your stress and how to stay in that homeostasis with other healthy lifestyle habits, you can actually help lead a healthier life. And so this is a really important time for the company. NowWatch believes, for a purpose, that tech should support and not distract, and help people take charge of their health with a screen-free product to really help manage the invisible load of daily life, integrating body and mind. And so this is a lot. Like, this company offers so much, and it's a very crowded industry. And it's taken the team a lot of time and energy to get to a place where they can sell outward to consumers and build partnerships with doctors and with the FDA and with insurance companies. And so getting this message and getting all of these foundational pieces in place is absolutely critical, as well, to how they show up on their website, how they're connecting with consumers, what that view looks like on social media, what's that personality, what's the look and feel, what's that language and tone. And so having these things very clear also has led a team of people, some of which are new to the company because it is a startup, really get clear on the North Star. And then one more slide I'll lead you with. I know this series is so brilliant in bringing you in front of people that can help you land softly in the US. And these are very important silos when you think about building your business. Entity is really critical. So I know you've heard about just tax implications, legal, any IP that you have. Making sure that you're protecting that in the US market is very important. There are many Chinese companies that troll the market and look for areas where there isn't protection, trademarking, also any type of patents, and they will go after those. And so entering this market, you want to make sure that you're protecting the hard work that you've created. Boots on the ground is also really important. And so making sure that you have representation in the market who understand this culture. Again, you remember that fourth slide that I shared. We're a country of many different sort of clusters. Starting in LA and California can be a very succinct way to get after consumers who are very open to things that are forward thinking, that are potentially category creators in the market. And having somebody or a small team of people here to help not only educate your team on the ground, but also to help make sure that they're fostering those connections on your behalf is really important. Doing the market research, especially around who your consumer group is very important coming into this market. And listen, there's a lot that you can now gather without having to pay a tremendous amount to a research firm to do. And so doing that work ahead of time is critical. Being locally relevant is also very important. And so I think I learned this exercise very early on in my career, being with a very big American sports company with Nike. And I lived in Asia Pacific for quite a few years, helping build that region. And what companies cannot do, and Nike did a very nice job of this, is making sure that they're integrating what the brand stands for, but understanding the local relevance, the nuances of the market, whether it's fit could be different or communication is different. And how you engage with consumers is a little bit different. And so making sure that you're locally relevant is also important, really integrated. Omnichannel 3PL is another big nugget. Having a 3PL fulfillment, if you're in a consumer product goods space, is also very important. Tools, and many of you may be using some of this if you sit in that sector, like Shopify, can help you understand the taxation of selling to multiple states, but also giving you multiple touch points with consumer through direct to consumer opportunities. Marketing and PR are also very important. And this is another exercise all in its own. But making sure that you have a very strong brand strategy will only best inform your marketing team and your PR team. And that really leads you into ensuring that you have all touch points in place with your eventual audiences. Again, whether you're providing a service, whether you're providing a consumer product good, whether you're a brand partnership of some point, it's really important that you have all pistons firing and very clear point of view that extends in all of those touch points with audiences. And then the third piece or the final piece here is, vertical and specific events. So depending on what sector of industry you sit in, there are always some fantastic vertical events that exist. And if you research those, which is very easy to do, you can find yourself in an environment with a concentrated amount of people who are passionate about doing, solving, getting the things that you're offering. And there are a lot of events out there. You can easily prioritize based on, time in market, credibility, testimonials, other peer brands. Showing up in some of these events that are deemed appropriate to your market also shows up for consumers and for potential partners. Anybody in an event is first and foremost your consumer, and secondarily can be your partner, and in many cases could become your best ambassador or evangelist. So it's really important to make sure that you understand each of these silos and have a really strong hold on how to approach them. So I'm going to pause here for a quick second. As I mentioned, we've got a team behind the scenes who can take questions. We wanted to take a few minutes at the end here to open the forum for that and allow you to do that through the public chat. And so if you want to pop those questions in, we are more than happy to take those here together. My teammates will also push that imagery to the forefront so that we can all see that. And we can answer those questions now. And we can also circle back and take those questions over time as well. So I've got a couple of hellos in here from Rotterdam. Hello. And looking here into the studio chat, we'll probably just take a minute or two more. If you have any questions, don't be shy. You don't have to enunciate those or vocalize those. I'll read those on your behalf and do my best to answer those here. Any Q&A? I'll take that we don't have any coming in. I'll take that as an approach that I answered all the questions throughout the presentation. But again, I want to reiterate that we can take these after the fact as well, and I'm happy to follow up. So I'll close with this. I am thrilled to be connected with the NBSO. I have a huge soft spot in my heart for the Netherlands in particular. I've loved working from the outside in and now sort of from the inside back out to helping bring a US brand into the US market. And I really feel strongly that if you feel like you've ticked the boxes around providing a product or a service or a partnership that solves problems, that doesn't exist in the current format that you've created it, that is uniquely different to a competitive set that's out there, that really delivers a better mousetrap, there's never a better time than now to really pursue that. It's a great time to start a company, to build a company, to expand a company. Just making sure that if you're given an hour to chop down the tree, that you're sharpening that axe 7 times at least. So doing that work, doing that due diligence is really important. There is one question that has come in from Rotterdam. Would products need to be sport related, or what would you advise? That's a great question. So I'm not advising that products are necessarily sport related. The NBSO has had a few different missions. There have been some for women entrepreneurs. There have been others around sport, and that's become a hot topic, obviously, because the World Cup is playing on our soil today. And in just a very short time after we've had a sleep, we'll host the Olympics here. So sport is a very hot topic. Sport is also very integral to our culture as Americans, from youth level all the way through the professional level. And so I think just the nature of what's happening around us right now, sport has been a trending topic. It does not need to be a sports related product. It could be a product, again, that solves a problem. If you choose to go down a consumer product pathway that solves a problem that is uniquely different, that really fills a void and gives people something they didn't know they need, and after they have that product, they feel that they can't live without. And so it doesn't need to be sport related, no. Any other questions? Thank you, Rotterdam, for putting a question in here and being brave. All right, there's another question that's come in. Thank you for the 8 Ps, Michael. It made a big impression on us at the LA Kings facility, and it's just as fresh and relevant today. So thank you guys for that, Michael. We did change it up a bit for today. And as I've shared with everyone in the past, this work is product, brand, service, startup, nonprofit, Fortune 100 agnostic. This process of understanding your company, your strategic foundational building blocks, and building that into your strategic plan for go-to-market is essential. And even if you've been in business for 10 years, 50 years, I do this work with companies all the time at different degrees of their lifespan. And so also it's important to come back to this because industries are moving quickly, competitors are moving quickly, consumers are moving quickly, and we're hungry for more. We're hungry for what's next. We are a bit of an animal when it comes to that because companies like Apple have given us this carrot that innovation will continue to impress, surprise, and make life easier, that we're always looking for what's next. And so doing this work, maybe even once a year as a leadership team, to make sure that your North Star and that little red bullseye on a target is still relevant based on all the environmental factors, your consumer insights, your approach to selling product or your service is still relevant is really important. And I love the whole concept of Japanese Kaizen, which is continuous improvement. And this is where this work should come in on a regular basis, no matter where you are. And then I'm looking just for any other questions here. All right, well, we'll do a quick little countdown here, but if you have follow-up questions, obviously you're all well connected to the NBSO. And I really want to thank the team there, Yorit, Pim, Shifa. They're like family. I'm always so honored when they ask me to be a part of these missions and these exercises. I get up every day excited to help build brands. That's become my passion, my love, and I enjoy it so much. And the real thrill is watching brands take this work and having success. And so we're here to support you. The team at the NBSO is here to support you. And thank you for having me this evening. And I hope to see you all soon in LA. Thank you.